Ducati left Le Mans looking less like the dominant manufacturer in MotoGP and more like a factory watching its own dynasty get carried away by a rival. 3 Aprilias on the podium, their reigning champion in surgery, their factory rider kicking a doctor's box in the gravel after crashing from second, and the man they once let walk away, Jorge Martin, is now 1 single point off the championship lead on the bike Ducati decided they could live without. This wasn't a bad weekend. This was the bill arriving for a decision Ducati made nearly 2 years ago and convinced themselves they had survived. So how did the most dominant manufacturer in modern MotoGP end up chasing the championship inside its own paddock? And why is the rider they replaced suddenly the most dangerous man on the grid? Here is what nobody inside Ducati wants to say out loud. The 2027 regulation reset is 8 months away. New 850 cubic centimetre engines, new Pirelli tyres, new aerodynamics. Every manufacturer is about to be levelled, and the team that goes into that reset with the strongest rider and the strongest internal data wins the next era. Aprilia just announced themselves to that race. Ducati just announced they might not even make it to the starting line. Aprilia didn't win a race in France. They took over a weekend. Martin won the sprint on Saturday from 8th on the grid. He won the Grand Prix on Sunday from 7th. Bezzecchi was 2nd. Iogura took 3rd. The Italian factory from Noal finished ahead of every Ducati on the grid. Every single one. Ducati had 6 bikes out there. 6. The factory team, Gresini VR46. Every shade of red was on track. Only one made it to the front group. Pecco Bagnaia, the 2-time world champion, the supposed pillar of the factory squad, the lone factory Ducati on track after Marquez was ruled out injured. He took pole. He fought back to 2nd. Then, with 10 laps to go, he lost the front. Pole to gravel in 15 laps. I don't think people have grasped how badly that crash exposed Ducati. It was the 8th retirement in 10 races for the man who won 11 Grand Prix in 2024. He left Le Mans 9th in the championship, 9th, behind 4 other Ducati riders. The factory's number 1 rider isn't the best Ducati on the grid anymore. He's the 4th best. When Bagnaia came off that bike, he didn't sit in the gravel. Fan footage caught him kicking a plastic medical box, swinging his leg at a Marshall cone, then storming back to the garage. The man does not lose his temper in public. He lost it on Sunday. And the anger wasn't about the crash, it was about the calendar. Bagnaia knows this isn't a one-off. He said it to Sky Italia the day before the race. It's a pretty difficult time for Ducati in general, which is definitely not working as we expected. That is the reigning champion telling you, on the record, that the factory is in trouble. And he is not wrong. Ducati ended 2025 with 5 consecutive DNFs from Bagnaia. They started 2026 promising a reset. 10 races into that reset, the factory team has 0 Grand Prix podiums. 0. From the team that swept the Constructors' Championship in 2024. And oh yeah, there is one more part of this that nobody is talking about. Iogura, the rider who completed Aprilia's podium sweep, is a second-year rider on a satellite team. He has never stood on a MotoGP podium before. He stood on one yesterday on the same bike that just beat Bagnaia, beat the entire Ducati grid, and almost caught Bezzecchi in the closing laps. That is not a star rider winning a race. That is a motorcycle dominating a circuit. The bike Ducati's leadership decided was beatable. In 2024, just put a satellite second-year rider on his first MotoGP rostrum. In the summer of 2024, Ducati had Martin under their roof at Pramac. He was fighting Bagnaia for the title on a year-old factory bike and beating him. When the factory seat opened, Ducati had a choice: promote the rider winning their championship on their machine, or sign Marquez. They picked Marquez. Martin signed for Aprilia within weeks. A year ago at Le Mans, midway through a disaster start with the RSGP, Martin walked into Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola's office and told him he wanted out of the contract. He wanted to go to Honda. Rivola said no. He said, in his own words, "I think you can win with us." Yesterday on the broadcast, Rivola brought that moment up unprompted. "Winning at Le Mans is quite special to me." That is a manufacturer reminding the world that they held onto the rider Ducati threw away. And Martin himself, on the cool-down lap, "I remember how, a year ago, I wanted to tell Massimo here that I was leaving the team. Now I'm grateful to Massimo for keeping me." Read that and ask yourself who should be grateful here. This is the part Ducati has been trying to keep quiet. Marquez fractured his 5th metatarsal in Saturday's sprint highside. The surgery on Sunday wasn't just for the foot. Ducati's medical team brought forward a separate operation, already scheduled for after Catalunya, to remove a shoulder screw that had been touching Marquez's radial nerve since his Mandalika crash last October. He has been racing with it, crashing because of it. Marquez himself admitted he thought he was mentally blocked, until doctors found the screw was pressing against the nerve every time he adopted the MotoGP riding crouch. The crash didn't cause the second surgery. It just made it impossible to hide any longer. The reigning champion is now out of Catalunya on his home soil, sitting 71 points behind Bezzecchi, recovering from an injury Ducati let him race with for 7 months. People thought Ducati's depth was their protection. It was actually their disguise. The 6 bikes hid the fact that the factory team is collapsing in plain sight. Aprilia took Martin, then signed Bezzecchi out of the VR46 Ducati garage to ride alongside him. Now they own the top 2 positions in the championship, while Ducati's factory team produces a rider in hospital and a rider in 9th. And here is the line nobody inside Ducati will say out loud. Letting Martin go was not a transfer decision. It was the decision that broke the dynasty. That gives Ducati one summer. 1. A factory rider who can't finish races. A reigning champion who can't ride one. A 2027 regulation reset where every advantage they built since 2022 gets erased. And a rival manufacturer that has just demonstrated, with 3 different riders on the podium, that the gap is no longer a gap. It is a takeover. Catalunya is next weekend. Marquez will not be there. Bagnaia will be the only factory Ducati on the grid again. And Aprilia will arrive with the championship leader, the man 1 point behind him, and a satellite rider who just took his first MotoGP podium ahead of Pedro Acosta and 4 works Ducatis. 6 months ago, that grid order would have been a fantasy. Today, it is the table. Ducati can spend the next 8 months telling themselves Le Mans was an outlier. They can blame the tyres. They can wait for Marquez to come back. But the math says the rider they let go is 1 point off winning their championship on their rival's bike. So was Le Mans a one-off Aprilia weekend, or the moment Ducati's dynasty officially ended? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.